straight, Daddy. That's better. And now I can breathe. When he gets rid of them trippity Emperor's trappings, I travel lighter. Don't this road ever get you?
If you are a fan of expressionist art, films of the 1930s, and Paul Robeson, then look no further here, as in today's episode I will be analyzing the great film, The Emperor Jones. But before I begin, welcome to another episode of Auteurs for Hire. Please do click that like button and subscribe so I am able to do more content like this. Anywho, let's get started. The story starts off in the church where there's a lot of singing and dancing, where they pray and lay hands on our main character, Brutus Jones, who is about to set off on a far-off journey for work as a Pullman porter in New York. The preacher prays for him and foreshadows by calling him like the prodigal son, but not like the prodigal son. We also get a great musical number from Paul Robeson singing "Oh Let Me Fly."
Next thing you do was to tell a lie. Best thing to do is pass him by. Now let me fly. Let me fly. Let me fly to my side.
Now Brutus Jones moves from his southern hometown and moves up north to New York to work as a Pullman porter and hopes for financial riches, which is the motivating factor for this character. While in New York City, he experiences quickly a different way of life from his rural southern Christian hometown. Even though he has a girl back at home, he becomes bewitched by a strange woman immediately back in Harlem. He does well and gets promoted within 6 weeks of the job and has his hopeful eyes only getting brighter by this success. However, his pride is slowly growing as he starts to think he's better than his own people. He starts to mess with more women and starts gambling. While Brutus Jones stops in DC, he starts big flexing in the game of craps at a gambling den. Sadly, the game of craps turns bad when he kills a man out of self-defense who had loaded dice and pulled a knife out on him. Brutus Jones gets arrested and joins the chain gang, where we hear another great musical number from Paul Robeson singing Old John Henry.
What a boy.
While on the chain gang, he deals with abuse from the authority who tried to do some unjust acts against his fellow brother who was unconscious from the heat. While the authority was brutalizing the unconscious soul, Brutus kills the authority. He hides in the truck and successfully escapes prison. He runs back home to his wife, but quickly says goodbye, changes clothes, and leaves the country. He goes on the ship and swims into an unnamed small island in the Caribbean where he is captured and imprisoned by the local government of the island. While imprisoned, a so-called white man named Smithers, who was a Cockney trader, provides Brutus Jones with supplies and helped him establish himself on the island. Brutus Jones, on the other hand, begins to hustle the people of the island and decides to try to undercut Smithers by becoming official business partners with Smithers, which during this time is an unorthodox bond since Smithers is a so-called white man and Brutus Jones is a so-called black man. Next, Smithers tries to hustle money out of the governor of the island through selling him military supplies. Brutus Jones tries to shake more money out of them, and when the emperor commands his army to shoot Brutus, the truth is that the guns were blanks, which Jones switched everyone's guns out the night before. However, Brutus makes himself seem as a god and claims that
takes a silver bullet to kill Brutus Jones.
Only a silver bullet is able to kill him, and he usurps authority in the twinkle of an eye. Thus, this begins his ruthless takeover. The now Emperor Jones starts to drink the strong drink of power and doubles the taxes of the island resources in order to quote-unquote pay off debt they had with Smithers. This goes on for over 2.5 years and the people are slowly becoming restless. Smithers even tells Brutus that he should quit the scheme and leave before the island goes against him. Brutus Jones' pride wouldn't allow him to quit. For one, he plans to rule for 3 years and then leave. And two, he thinks very lowly of the so-called blacks of the West Indies. During the court, he makes a public display of the rioters to punish them and ridicule them. However, we see that was a turning point of his rule because his servants began to stop listening to him. Smithers even mocks him. Brutus sees that the jig is up and plans his escape from the island with his money. While him and Smithers were making plans, they hear the religious war drums of the inhabitants, which was a sign that they were garnering their courage to capture Brutus Jones. Jones walks out with a haughty spirit into the wilderness. In a very powerful monologue of a man who is slowly descending into madness, Emperor Jones continues to hear constant drumming intensifying. As the drums intensifies, Jones' fears and paranoia grows and the approaching rebels come closer. Jones holds on to his delusions that only a silver bullet can kill him. Jones also starts to become even more delusional as he starts to see Hanks, the man he killed during the game of craps, the white man he killed while he was in the chain gang, and he even uses his guns on the ghost that he sees, leaving only his custom-made silver bullet left in the chamber. All of his delusions and fears leads him to begging the Most High God to forgive him and repent.
I done wrong. I knows and I sorry. Forgive me, Lord. Forgive this poor sinner.
However, he sees another hint of a devil. He goes crazy and runs mad. We move to Smithers and see that he might have something to do with the downfall of Jones, as he is sitting in the wilderness with the native people waiting for Jones to die. The people of the island made themselves silver bullets in a bit of irony and hunted Jones down and finished him off, and that was the tragic end of the movie, Emperor Jones. At the beginning of the film, when the church laid hands on and prayed over Brutus before leaving his hometown, the pastor stated something.
Almighty and everlasting God, we, the people of Hezekiah Baptist Churches, for the purpose of giving into your keeping our brother Brutus Jones. Yes, Lord, our brother. Like the prodigal son in the story, yes, he's sitting there on a far journey. But this boy ain't like the prodigal son.
He stated in the prayer that Brutus is like the prodigal son, but not like the prodigal. And I agree with the statement, that the statement was a foreshadowing of what Brutus Jones was about to go through. Brutus Jones left his hometown that had his church family and his wife for the far-off land up north in Harlem and DC. And there he involved himself in riotous living, losing his substance by going to jail after killing Jeff in a game of craps. He never returns back to his hometown like the prodigal son did. However, at the end, Jones, while in the wilderness, he does return to the Most High God by confessing his sins before he died. Still in all, the preacher's statement was still true. Brutus Jones was like the prodigal, but not like the prodigal in the parable of the prodigal son that Jesus told. In my opinion, while watching the film, Brutus Jones was like another prodigal son in the Bible. If you read the book of Judges around the 8th and the 9th chapter, there is a man named Abimelech who was also a prodigal son of the famous judge Gideon. There are some deep parallels between Emperor Brutus Jones and Abimelech. The term illegitimate means not genuine or not of genuine origins. In the story of Abimelech, Gideon had many wives. In Judges chapter 8 verses 31, it states that Gideon's concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. You may be asking, how is this like Emperor Jones? Well, during this era in America, the so-called blacks were very much treated like the illegitimate children of America. For throughout history, it sadly took years for so-called black folks to even be considered a full human being by certain laws. Furthermore, there were many pushes by many people in high places to colonize countries outside the states in America so they can kick out the so-called black folks in America. Abraham Lincoln being one of those people who pushed to colonize and export the so-called black population outside of America. In the movies, we see black folks while in the chain gang and even on the Caribbean islands as orphans that shouldn't really be regarded as quote-unquote genuine children. Secondly, both Brutus Jones and Abimelech achieved their power through manipulation and violence. We saw that Brutus Jones manipulated the weapon supply to make himself seem invincible to the native people of the island, and by force he took the throne and crowned himself emperor and ruled with an iron fist. Abimelech's rise to power is found in Judges chapter 9, where Abimelech, considered illegitimate, exploits the townspeople's dissatisfaction with the existing leadership to secure kingship in Shechem, murdering his 70 brothers in the process. Read with me Judges chapter 9 verse 1 through 6, which states this: And Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them, and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words, and their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Bel-berith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons, which followed him. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brother, the sons of Jerubbaal, being 70 persons, upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, was left, for he hid himself. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. Third, because of Jones rose and ruled with an iron fist, the people eventually rebelled against his laws, his commands, and then him, ultimately killing him, ironically, with a silver bullet. Now, funny enough, Brutus Jones planned on ruling the island for 3 years. In contrast, Abimelech ruled Israel illegitimately for 3 years. Abimelech was a ruthless ruler where the men of Shechem began to deal treacherously with him. A man named Gael and the men of Shechem, the same people who were once with him, declared war against Abimelech, with a woman fatally wounding him during the uprising. With both of these people, the way they rose is the way they fell, rendering their downfall inevitable. Lastly, both characters are weighed down by their violent past. Jones is haunted by his murders in America, and Abimelech's rise to power is built on fratricide. The guilt manifests in their anxieties and fears. Their external struggles for power are intertwined with internal battles. Jones grapples with his own demons, and Abimelech might be haunted by his actions as an illegitimate son of one of the best judges of Israel, Gideon. However, the Bible is silent on Abimelech's inner turmoil. But again, his actions and desperation to remain in power shows that those things I've mentioned could be rooted to this action. The themes that were explored in Emperor Jones and the story of Abimelech were: first, the cycle of violence, where both stories showcase how violence begets violence. The characters' actions perpetuate a cycle of bloodshed and destruction. The second theme is the price of power, where the film and the biblical story depicts the corrupting influence of power and the high cost it can exact on the ruler. And lastly, the fragility of tyranny. Despite their ruthless tactics, both Jones and Abimelech struggled to maintain control. Their reigns are ultimately unstable and short-lived. I have no shame to say that Emperor Jones, though rooted in the 20th century colonial Americas, he is very much like Abimelech, the biblical figure. By examining the parallels between Emperor Jones and Abimelech, we gain a deeper understanding of the universal themes of ambition, violence, and the corrupting influence of power. Their stories, though separated by time and origins, offer a cautionary tale about the dangers of tyranny and the high cost it exacts. The Emperor Jones remains a powerful and thought-provoking story. It grapples with themes of power, race, and the human condition in a way that continues to resonate with audiences today. It is a piece of high art, and I recommend anyone to watch this film. Paul Robeson's acting performance was staggering, especially the scene in the wilderness. All in all, watch this film. You won't be disappointed. And if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and share the knowledge with your folks and kinfolks. And remember, the truth shall make you free. Peace.